Breaking news is coming out of Iran, where massive protests have erupted across multiple cities, drawing global attention and raising serious questions about the country's political and social future. So, what is really happening inside Iran right now? What triggered these protests? Who is involved? And why does this moment matter not just for Iran, but for the entire region and the world? Let's break it down. What sparked the protests? The current wave of protests didn't begin overnight. Reports indicate that economic pressure, rising inflation, unemployment, and dissatisfaction with government policies have pushed many Iranians to the edge. Over the past few years, sanctions, currency devaluation, and cost of living increases have made daily life increasingly difficult for ordinary citizens. For many protesters, this is no longer about one single issue. It's about years of frustration boiling over at once. Where are the protests happening? Demonstrations have been reported in major cities and smaller towns alike, suggesting that unrest is not limited to one group or region. Videos circulating on social media, despite heavy internet restrictions, show crowds chanting slogans, blocking roads, and confronting security forces. The scale and coordination indicate that these protests are widespread and deeply rooted, not isolated incidents. Authorities have responded by increasing security presence, limiting internet access, and issuing warnings against public gatherings. Who is protesting? One of the most striking aspects of these protests is who is participating. Young people frustrated with a lack of opportunities, workers struggling to survive rising prices, middle-class families worried about the future, even some conservative communities affected by economic hardship. This broad participation suggests something important. This is not a protest driven by one ideology. It's driven by survival, dignity, and frustration. Government response so far. The Iranian government has described the protests as being influenced by foreign actors and external interference, a claim often made during times of internal unrest. Security forces have moved quickly to disperse demonstrations, and there are reports of arrests, clashes, and tightened media controls. Internet slowdowns and shutdowns have made it difficult to verify information, but activists say the crackdown has intensified. Officials insist that stability will be restored, but history shows that heavy-handed responses often deepen public anger rather than silence it. Why this moment is different? Iran has seen protests before, but many analysts believe this moment is different. Why? Because economic pressure is worse than ever. Public trust in institutions is extremely low. Younger generations are more connected, aware, and fearless. The protests appear more sustained and nationwide. This combination makes the situation far more unpredictable than previous unrest. International reaction. The world is watching closely. Several countries and human rights organizations have expressed concern, calling for restraint and protection of civilians. At the same time, global powers are cautious. Any instability in Iran can impact oil markets, regional security, and diplomatic negotiations. Neighboring countries are also on alert, knowing that unrest in Iran can have ripple effects across the Middle East. What happens next? This is the most important question and the hardest to answer. There are three possible paths forward. The protests fade due to force and restrictions, reforms are introduced to ease public pressure, unrest escalates leading to prolonged instability. Which path Iran takes will depend on how authorities respond and whether protesters believe real change is possible. Final thoughts. What's happening in Iran right now is more than breaking news. It's a critical moment in the country's history, driven by deep-rooted economic pain, social frustration, and a growing demand for change. As the situation continues to evolve, one thing is clear. These protests are not just about today, they're about Iran's future. We will continue to monitor developments and bring you verified updates as this story unfolds. Stay informed, stay aware.